My name is Caroline Hayes, and I was 36 years old when my boyfriend laughed in my face during our separation. He laughed. That was the part that got stuck in my chest, sharp and humiliating, even more than the cheating or the lies or the endless late nights at work. 7 years of building a life together, ending in a beige conference room with terrible fluorescent lighting and stale coffee, and he thought it was funny. My boyfriend, Ryan Mercer, 33, sat across from me at the cheap laminate table in the mediator's office, legs sprawled like this was just another annoying errand between brunch and the gym. The walls were the color of wet cardboard. The blinds were half bent. Someone had left a bowl of hard, dusty mints on the cabinet. 7 years together, dissolving in a room that looked like no one had loved it in decades. The mediator, a man in his 50s with thinning hair and glasses that kept sliding down his nose, was droning on about co-owned property, shared accounts, and asset division. His voice was a monotone hum, like a malfunctioning air conditioner. Ryan tapped his pen on the table, bored. I watched the ink smudge against his fingers and thought, you used those hands to text 4 different women while I was making dinner in our kitchen. Given the condo, the house, and the joint investment account, the mediator said, we'll need to determine what each of you feels is a fair split so we can avoid. Ryan cut him off. Can we just skip to the part where I get what I deserve? He said, leaning back in his chair. This is taking forever. He didn't even look at me when he said it, just stared at the ceiling like the whole situation was beneath him. I stayed quiet. That had become my default lately. Quiet, watchful, letting him talk himself into deeper holes. Ryan went on, with a little huff of a laugh. We both know this relationship has been dead for years. Let's just split things fairly and move on. The mediator adjusted his glasses and looked at me like he was waiting to see if I'd explode. I didn't. My voice came out calm, almost gentle. I think Ryan makes a good point, I said. Let's discuss what fair looks like. Ryan's mouth curled into that familiar, smug little smile, the one he wore when he thought he'd already won. Finally, he said, some common sense. I slid a folder from my briefcase and placed it on the table, neat and deliberate. I've prepared an offer, I said, based on what I believe is equitable, given the circumstances. The mediator nodded approvingly. That's very helpful, Ms. Hayes. Ryan pulled the folder toward himself and flipped it open. His eyes skimmed the first page. I watched his expression, every tiny shift. At first there was suspicion, then surprise, then something like amusement. You're offering me the house, he said slowly, and keeping the condo. He let out a short laugh. Wow, he said. You really loved me, didn't you? Something in my chest tightened, but I didn't look away. I did, I said. He glanced up at me, and for a second I saw it, the way he looked at me like I was stupid, like I was pathetic for ever meaning that. You really think you're the only one who felt that way? He said, eyebrows lifting. The mediator shifted uncomfortably in his chair. What do you mean? I asked. Ryan scoffed. Come on. You can't be that naive. You think you were the only person who thought I was special, the only one who said I was their everything? He laughed again, louder this time, like the whole room should be in on the joke. God, he said, you're all so predictable. You're all. Plural. My stomach turned, but my face stayed still. I had already seen the photographs, the time-stamped receipts, the grainy camera footage of Ryan kissing someone else in a parking lot while I was at home texting him, asking if he wanted me to save him dinner. I didn't need his words to hurt me. They just confirmed what I already knew. I reached back into my briefcase and pulled out a second folder. This one was thicker, heavier. It felt like the weight of the last 8 months in my hand. You're right, I said quietly, sliding it across the table to him. I did think you were my everything. Past tense. Ryan frowned, but he opened it. His eyes moved more slowly this time. I watched the color drain from his face in stages. Smug, then confused, then something rawer. He flipped another page, another. The pages rustled way too loudly in the cramped room. The mediator leaned over, trying to see. What is this? He asked. A private investigator's report, I said. Dated surveillance over the last 8 months. I kept my voice even, detached. 4 different affair partners over the past 2 years. Dates, times, locations, photographic evidence. Ryan's hand started to shake. He tried to hide it by gripping the folder tighter. You had me followed? He demanded, looking up at me, like he couldn't decide whether to be outraged or scared. I had my boyfriend followed, I corrected. When he started coming home at midnight smelling like someone else's perfume. when he suddenly needed to work late 3 nights a week at a job that never required overtime before, when he put a password lock on his phone after 7 years of leaving it on the counter, unlocked. Memories flashed through me, quick and sharp. Ryan stepping out onto the balcony to take a call. Ryan turning his phone face down when a notification lit the screen. Ryan showering as soon as he walked in the door. My fingers tightening around a spatula in the kitchen as I told myself I was being paranoid. The mediator was flipping through the report now, his expression growing heavier with each page. "This is," he began slowly, looking over the rims of his glasses at Ryan. "This is quite extensive." "This is an invasion of privacy," Ryan snapped. "You can't just— This is insane. Caroline, what the hell is wrong with you?" "Actually," I said, "my lawyer confirmed it's completely legal. No expectation of privacy in public places, vehicles, or hotel parking lots." A vein in his temple pulsed. For the first time since he walked in, he looked genuinely rattled. "I want a different mediator," he said abruptly, slamming the folder shut. "This is ridiculous. You're trying to make me look bad." "I'm showing documentation of infidelity and financial misconduct," I replied, my voice steady, "which affects asset division and any claims to partner support under our cohabitation agreement." The mediator cleared his throat. "Mr. Mercer, perhaps we should take a break and reconvene when both parties have had time to review this new information with their respective counsel." "New information?" Ryan's voice went shrill. "She's been spying on me. This is harassment." "It's evidence. I
said, collected by a licensed professional, all admissible in court."
He shoved his chair back so hard it scraped across the floor. "We're done here," he snapped. "I'm calling my lawyer. You're not getting away with this." "Getting away with what?" I asked softly. "Documenting your affairs?" His eyes narrowed, and for a second I saw the version of him that used to whisper he loved me at 2 a.m. The same mouth that had once told me we were a team, that we'd always choose each other first, now twisted in contempt. "You manipulative piece of—" He stopped himself, glancing at the mediator. "I'm leaving. This is hostile." He grabbed his bag, snatched up the folder with the PI report, and stalked out of the room. The door slammed so hard the flimsy fake plant in the corner trembled. Silence settled like dust. The mediator let out a breath I hadn't realized he was holding. "Well," he said, adjusting his glasses again, "that was unexpected." "For me too," I admitted. I felt strangely hollow, like all my emotions had been scraped out, leaving only this quiet, cold clarity. "The laughing part," I added, "not the affairs. Those I knew about." He shuffled the papers back into a neat stack. "You'll want to provide copies of this to your attorney immediately." "Already done," I said. "He has the full report. This is just the summary version." "There's a full version?" he asked, eyebrows lifting. 63 pages, I said. Timeline, correspondence records, credit card receipts showing hotel stays on nights he told me he was crashing at a friend's place. The investigator had been thorough. Too thorough, maybe. I still hadn't made it through the entire binder without feeling physically sick. I stood up and began gathering my folders, moving on autopilot. Outside the mediator's window, the parking lot shimmered with late afternoon heat. People came and went, carrying briefcases, coffee cups, whole lives in their heads. "For what it's worth," the mediator said, "I've been doing this for 15 years. I've never seen someone look quite that satisfied with themselves before they saw evidence like this." I thought of Ryan's laugh, the way he leaned back, so certain I'd just roll over and hand him everything because that was what I'd always done. "He thought he was untouchable," I said quietly. "Thought I was too stupid to figure it out, or too weak to do anything about it." I closed my briefcase. "And now," I added, "he knows different." I walked out into this hallway, my heels loud against the cheap tile. In my bag, the folders pressed against my side like a second heartbeat. My hands were steady. I thought stupidly that the worst part might be over. I had no idea that everything after this would make today look almost peaceful. The week after mediation was chaos. Ryan called me 36 times on the first day alone. My phone lit up over and over on the kitchen counter while I stood at the sink, rinsing coffee cups and staring out the window at absolutely nothing. I watched his name flash and disappear, like a fire alarm I refused to acknowledge. He left voicemails too. I didn't listen to them all the way through, just enough to catch the tone before hitting delete. "Caroline, we need to talk. You blindsided me. This is insane. Just call me back." Click. "You think you're so smart, don't you? You think some stupid pictures are going to change anything? You're not going to win." Click. "I'm sorry, okay? Are you happy? I said it. I messed up. But you don't have to destroy me over this. Please, can we just fix it?" Click. Apologetic, threatening, hysterical. In that order, over and over. I forwarded the voicemails and call logs to my lawyer and turned my ringer off. By day 3, his number felt like a shark fin circling just under the surface of my calm. My lawyer called one afternoon while I was at my dining table, laptop open, pretending to answer work emails. Ryan's attorney reached out, he said, sounding almost amused. They're claiming the PI report was obtained through illegal means. I let out a breathy little laugh. Of course they are. I sent over the investigator's licensing documentation and the relevant case law, he continued. No expectation of privacy in public places, etc. That shut them up for about 6 hours. Only 6? Apparently they regrouped, he said dryly, because now they've filed an emergency motion for temporary support, claiming you're withholding funds and restricting his access to financial resources. I blinked. I'm what? He's alleging financial abuse, my lawyer said. Says you cut him off and he can't afford basic necessities. I looked around my condo, at the couch he'd slept on after we'd fought about his late nights, at the kitchen counter where I used to leave envelopes with cash for him, just in case he needed anything. He has access to his own bank account, I said slowly, the one I've been depositing money into every month for the last 2 years. How much is in there? My lawyer asked. Last I checked, I pulled my laptop closer, opened the banking app, and navigated to the account I had once lovingly named Ryan Personal, about $8,000. There was a pause. From the monthly allowance you gave him? My lawyer confirmed. I wouldn't call it an allowance, I said, wincing at the word, even though I'd used it myself in my head 100 times. I just transferred $1,200 a month for whatever he wanted, going out with friends, clothes, hobbies. We agreed he would quit his job to figure out his next step, remember? Right, my lawyer said, and now he's claiming poverty. Apparently. He was quiet for a second. I could practically hear him smiling. This is going to be fun, he said. Send me his bank statements for the last year. That night, I sat at my dining table under the warm light of the overhead pendant and downloaded the statements. The numbers were clinical, cold. The pattern wasn't. Charges to restaurants, hotel rooms, bar tabs, all lined up neatly with the private investigator's surveillance dates and times, like puzzle pieces snapping into place. Every time I had texted, "Hey, are you almost home?" and gotten back, "Sorry, babe, work thing ran late, crashed at Mark's tonight," there it was. A charge to a boutique hotel across town. A tab at a trendy restaurant I'd never even heard of. I sent the statements to my lawyer with shaking hands, then closed my laptop and just sat there in the dim kitchen, listening to the refrigerator hum. You paid for it, a small bitter voice in my head whispered. You literally funded your own betrayal. A week later, the hearing for temporary support was scheduled. The morning of, I dressed like I was going into battle. Dark slacks, simple blouse, minimal makeup, hair pulled back. I wanted to look composed, credible. Not the hysterical, vindictive ex Ryan's motion was trying to paint me as. The courthouse hallway smelled like old paper and cheap floor cleaner. My lawyer met me outside the courtroom, holding a neat stack of files. You ready? He asked. No, I said honestly, but let's do it anyway. Inside, Ryan was already seated at the petitioner's table with his attorney. He wore a conservative button-down and had left his usual swagger at home. His hair was neatly combed. He'd shaved. He looked smaller somehow. If I didn't know better, I might have believed he was the one who'd been blindsided. He glanced at me when I walked in, eyes flicking up and down, searching for something. Anger, regret, weakness. I gave him nothing. When the judge entered, we all stood. The proceedings felt surreal, like I'd wandered onto a legal drama set, except this was my bank account, my future being discussed in dry terms and case citations. Ryan's attorney went first. Your Honor, he began, earnest and solemn, my client has been subjected to a campaign of control and financial abuse. Ms. Hayes has unilaterally cut off his access to shared resources, leaving him unable to afford basic necessities. He has no independent income at this time. I felt my jaw clench. He continued, we are requesting immediate temporary support to ensure Mr. Mercer's well-being while the broader financial issues are resolved. The judge turned to my lawyer. Response? My lawyer stood, smooth and unhurried. Your Honor, he said, the picture painted by opposing counsel is incomplete. He opened a folder, the rustle of paper sounding almost aggressive in the quiet room. Mr. Mercer has full access to a personal bank account Ms. Hayes has funded for the past 2 years, he said. At present, that account holds a balance of approximately $8,000. He handed copies to the judge and opposing counsel. Additionally, he went on, we have submitted bank statements demonstrating that the funds Ms. Hayes provided for Mr. Mercer's personal use, $1,200 a month, were frequently spent on restaurants, nightlife, and hotel rooms corresponding directly with dates and times documented in the private investigator's report regarding his multiple affairs. The judge flipped through the pages, his expression flattening. You're saying, he said slowly, that the financial hardship Mr. Mercer claims is contradicted by his recent spending patterns? Yes, Your Honor, my lawyer replied. The records show no pattern of deprivation, quite the opposite. The judge looked over at Ryan, then at his attorney. Mr. Mercer maintains an $8,000 balance and has been spending $300 to $400 at a time on hotel stays and dining out. Ryan's attorney started to speak. Your Honor, my client's emotional distress. The spending patterns are a matter of record, the judge interrupted sharply, and they show no financial hardship whatsoever. Ryan's face flushed a mottled red. Motion denied, the judge said. There is no basis for temporary support at this time. The gavel's rap was small but final. Ryan stared straight ahead, jaw locked so tight a muscle twitched. Outside the courtroom, he waited until my lawyer stepped away to answer a call before cornering me near a column. You're really doing this? He hissed. You're really going to drag me through court like some criminal? I didn't ask you to cheat on me with 4 different women, I said calmly. I didn't ask you to use my money to pay for it. You're blowing things way out of proportion, he snapped. People make mistakes. Once, I said. Twice, maybe. 4 different people over 2 years is not a mistake. It's a pattern. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You think this is over? You think embarrassing me in there is the end of it? I'm going to make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. Everyone already knows what kind of person you are, I said quietly. You sent them screenshots, remember? Late-night texts, selfies. You didn't exactly cover your tracks. For a split second, fear flickered in his eyes. Then it hardened into something meaner. You're going to regret this, he said. When you're alone and miserable, you'll regret not just letting me walk away. I'm already alone, I said. The difference is now I know it. He flinched like I'd slapped him. My lawyer stepped back into the hallway then, and Ryan turned away, stalking off toward the elevators. I exhaled, my whole body trembling now that the confrontation was over. Nice work, my lawyer murmured. You kept your cool. I don't feel cool, I said. I feel empty. That's normal, he replied. But you've got leverage now. He knows it. That's why he's flailing. I nodded, trying to absorb the word leverage like it was a shield. But the thing about leverage is, when you use it, the other person doesn't just sit still and accept the weight. They push back, hard. The next move wasn't a legal filing. It was a knock on my door. It came 3 nights later, loud and insistent, just as I'd changed into sweatpants and was contemplating whether toast and tea counted as dinner. I checked the peephole. Ryan's mother stood in the hallway, jaw clenched, eyes blazing. Of course. I cracked the door open, leaving the chain on. Hi, I said. How dare you, she snapped, voice already shaking with fury. Open this door right now. I slipped off the chain and opened it fully, but stayed blocking the entrance with my body. Mrs. Mercer, I said politely. We'd never actually shared a last name, but she'd insisted I call her that from the beginning. What can I do for you? You can stop destroying my son's life, she spat. You can stop humiliating him. I haven't humiliated anyone, I said. I documented infidelity and submitted it during a legal separation process. You hired someone to stalk him, she said, stabbing a finger in my direction, to take pictures of him. This is abuse. It's evidence collection, I replied. Legal evidence collection. She shook her head, eyes wild. He made some mistakes. That doesn't give you the right to ruin his reputation. He ruined his own reputation, I said, by sleeping with 4 different women while living off my income. Her face flushed an angry, blotchy red. Those women took advantage of him, she snapped. He was vulnerable. You were always working, always busy, never paying attention to him. What did you expect to happen? An exhausted, incredulous laugh escaped me before I could stop it. I was working, I said, because he quit his job 2 years ago to find himself. I've been paying the mortgage, the utilities, his car payment, his credit cards, while he found himself in hotel rooms. You're twisting this, she said, making yourself the victim. I'm stating facts, I replied, my voice flat. Documented facts, with timestamps and photographs. She stepped closer until we were almost nose to nose. You'll regret this, she hissed. My son deserves better than you. He always has. Those women saw what you couldn't, that he's special, that he deserves to be worshipped. Then they can worship him, I said quietly. with their own bank accounts, not mine. Her mouth opened, then closed. The word she settled on came out like poison. You cold-hearted... Good night, I said, and closed the door. She pounded on it for another 5 minutes, shouting muffled insults I couldn't quite make out. I leaned my forehead against the wood and waited for the vibrations to stop. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. A text from Ryan. We need to talk, please, just us. I took a screenshot and sent it to my lawyer. He replied almost immediately. Do not respond. I put my phone face down and walked into the kitchen, filled a glass with water, stared at the faucet for a long time. The next morning, my lawyer called again, sounding more amused than alarmed. Ryan's attorney just filed another motion, he said. They're claiming you're withholding marital-style funds and restricting his access to financial resources again. I thought we just handled that, I said tiredly. We did, he replied. But desperation breeds creativity. He's asking for immediate temporary support, citing emotional distress and financial dependence. I sat down at the table and pressed my fingers to my temples. Of course he is. Don't worry, my lawyer said. We're filing a counter motion today with the bank statements you sent me. We're highlighting the charges that match up with the PI's surveillance. It paints a vivid picture. When's the hearing? I asked. Next week, he said. And Caroline? Yeah? Expect things to get dirtier, he warned. Clients like Ryan, people who rely on charm and lies, they don't go down quietly. He was right. Because the next trick wasn't about money. It was about me. 2 days later, my mother called me, her voice tight and trembling. Caroline, she said, tell me the truth. Have you been abusive to Ryan? The room tilted slightly. And just like that, I understood exactly how far he was willing to go. My mother never calls me before 9 a.m. That's how I knew something was wrong even before I answered. Caroline, she said again, voice thin and shaking. Sweetheart, please, just tell me the truth. Were you abusive to Ryan? For a second, I couldn't speak. I was sitting at my kitchen table, a half-eaten piece of toast on my plate, the morning sun hitting the counter in a warm stripe. Everything looked exactly the same as any other morning of my life. But inside my chest, something dropped, hard and cold, like a stone pitched into deep water. Mom, I finally said, no, absolutely not. She inhaled shakily. He called last night. He said he was afraid of you, said you were controlling, and you'd hired someone to stalk him, and he didn't feel safe. I closed my eyes. Of course he went there. Mom, I said slowly, carefully, everything he told you is a lie. Caroline. I have a private investigator's report, I said. 63 pages of documentation of his affairs, his spending, his hotel visits. I hired a licensed PI because he was cheating on me and lying to my face. Silence. I'm sending the report, I added. Please read it, then call me back. My mother was quiet for a long moment. Oh, okay, she whispered. Send it. My hands trembled as I emailed my parents the executive summary. Dates, names, receipts, time-stamped photos. Not the full report. It was too much for them, too brutal, but enough to show the truth undeniably. An hour passed. Then my father called. Jesus Christ, Caroline, he said, voice tight with fury I rarely heard. This is what he was doing while he was telling us you were unstable? Yeah, I whispered. This is what he was doing. He exhaled, long and rough. Your mother wants to talk to you. There was a shuffle, then her voice, wrecked. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, she said. I should have known better. I should have trusted you. He sounded so scared. I didn't want to believe you'd be capable of hurting someone. I know, I said softly. It's okay. It's not okay, she said, suddenly fierce. He tried to make me think my daughter was dangerous, that you were an abuser. I pressed my lips together. That's what he does, Mom. He lies. Well, she said, voice cracking. He won't lie to me again. Later that same day, my phone rang again. This time, the caller ID read Stephanie Mercer, Ryan's older sister. I hesitated, then answered. Caroline, she said brightly, like we were catching up over brunch instead of standing on opposite sides of a war. Hi, I just thought maybe we could chat, woman to woman. About what? I asked flatly. About everything, she said. I know things are messy right now, but Ryan is really hurting. He told me you two haven't actually sat down and talked through this. There's nothing to talk through, I said. We're separating. But he loves you, she said. He made mistakes, sure, but... Mistakes, I repeated. 4 different women over 2 years. Well, she said, sounding offended I wasn't being more gracious. People have needs, Caroline, and you were always so busy with work. I hung up. She called back immediately. I declined. She texted, he was lonely. You pushed him away. You should take some responsibility. I blocked her. The hearing came faster than I expected. The courthouse was colder this time, or maybe I was. Ryan arrived wearing the same wounded little boy expression he'd worn in his temporary support hearing. His lawyer carried a binder thick enough to hold a Bible. The judge took her seat and looked at Ryan's filed statement. "Mr. Mercer," she said, "you are alleging emotional abuse, harassment, stalking, and threatening behavior, and are requesting a restraining order against Ms. Hayes. Is that correct?" Ryan nodded solemnly, hands folded, eyes soft with practiced fear. "Yes, Your Honor," he said. "I've been terrified. She hired a stranger to follow me, to take pictures of me. I don't feel safe in my own home. If I hadn't known him so well, I might have believed him." My lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we have extensive evidence contradicting these allegations," he said. "Phone records showing Ms. Hayes has not contacted Mr. Mercer outside of legal channels, building security footage confirming she has not gone near his residence, and documentation from a licensed investigator." He handed everything to the judge. She flipped through it, expression flattening. "Mr. Mercer," she said, "do you have any evidence of actual threats? Any texts, emails, voicemails, witness statements?" Ryan's lawyer stepped in. "Threats don't have to be explicit to be real. The psychological impact of surveillance." The judge cut him off. "The actions described in your motion," she said firmly, "are not harassment. They are legal evidence collection in a separation case. There is no justification for a restraining order." Ryan's face went crimson. "Ma'am," he blurted, "you don't understand. She's dangerous." The judge's eyes turned icy. "Mr. Mercer, I suggest you stop making false allegations in my courtroom. This request is denied." The gavel struck. It was over, except it wasn't. Because outside the courtroom, Ryan grabbed my lawyer's sleeve. "Can we talk settlement?" he asked. And just like that, the tide shifted. They tried, of course, to start with a deal that made no sense. Ryan keeps the house. He gets partner support. He gets a chunk of my retirement savings. He gets the furniture. My lawyer actually laughed. "Absolutely not," he said. "Here's our counter." He listed it out cleanly. "Caroline keeps her retirement as separate property. The house must be sold. The proceeds are split based on contribution, 80% Caroline, 20% Ryan. Ryan receives 0 partner support due to documented infidelity. Each keeps their own vehicles and personal accounts. Caroline keeps the condo and the cats." Ryan's lawyer looked like someone had just handed him a live grenade. "She'll never agree to that," he said weakly. "Then we go to trial," my lawyer replied, "where the full PI report and financial records become public record. Your client may find that unfortunate." Ryan swallowed hard. The message was clear. Settle quietly or be exposed loudly. 3 days later, they were ready to negotiate. 2 weeks after that, we had an agreement. It cost me money, more than I wanted, more than was fair, but it also bought me something priceless. Freedom. And the moment Ryan realized he wasn't getting the house, or long-term support, or half my savings, was worth every penny. The day the settlement was finalized, Ryan tried one last time. He waited until we were standing outside the lawyer's office, papers signed, our signatures still drying. "You know this is all because you couldn't handle that I needed more than you could give, right?" he said softly. "Those women understood me in ways you never could." I looked at him, really looked at him. This man I had once pictured a future with. This man I had trusted enough to build a home with. "Ryan," I said quietly, "you're absolutely right." He blinked. "What?" "They understood you," I said. "They understood exactly what you are." Confusion, anger, embarrassment, all flickered across his face. "And the difference," I added, "is they didn't care, because they had nothing to lose." His jaw tightened. "You'll regret this. I'm already happier than I've been in 2 years. You'll never find anyone like me." "God," I said, "I hope not." He froze. I walked away, and I didn't look back. The house sold quickly. The market was good, the location even better, and despite everything that had happened during the separation, I couldn't help standing in the empty living room one last time and remembering the first night we moved in. We ate takeout on the floor because we didn't own a dining table yet. Ryan spilled wine on the carpet. I laughed. He kissed me like we were the only 2 people in the world. Now the rooms echoed. My lawyer texted me a single sentence. "Funds have cleared. Your share is 187. I stared at the number until it blurred. Enough to breathe, enough to rebuild, enough to feel free. Ryan's share, 35%, was roughly 60,000. I found out through a mutual friend that he'd burned through half of it in the first month. A luxury apartment, new clothes, a weekend trip with a friend he wouldn't name. Predictable. What I didn't expect was how quickly the people he'd been trying so hard to impress disappeared once he no longer had a stable partner footing the bills. 2 weeks after the sale, I finished repainting my condo. Soft cream walls, warm light, new sofa that the cats immediately claimed like they'd been waiting their whole lives for it. It felt like my place now. For the first time in years, the air didn't feel tight. I didn't check every creak or car door outside, wondering if he was home yet. I didn't hold my breath, waiting for a lie I couldn't prove. It was quiet, and the cats, Milo and Juniper, seemed to sense it. Milo stopped hiding under the bed when someone knocked on the door. Juniper stopped pacing the hallway at night. They lounged in sunbeams, sprawled across the couch, soft bodies finally relaxed. Sometimes I wondered if they had been more aware of the tension than I was. I started seeing someone new. Nothing serious at first. A friend of a friend, introduced at a dinner party where I'd shown up late, still wearing paint-splattered leggings because I'd been redoing my bedroom. His name was Nathan. He was 38, a tax attorney, with a dry sense of humor and a surprisingly gentle laugh. Divorced 2 years ago. No kids. On our third date, he asked, carefully, respectfully, about the breakup. "You don't have to tell me everything," he said, sipping his coffee. "Just whatever you're comfortable sharing." I took a breath and told him the truth. The PI report, the affairs, the court hearings, the restraining order attempt, the smear campaign, the settlement. I waited for him to react, to judge me, to flinch. He didn't. Instead, he said, "You must have felt incredibly alone in that." The words hit me harder than I expected. Because yes, I had. I'd been alone in the house, alone in the court, alone in the accusations, alone in the doubt, even when the evidence was right in front of me. No one had said it out loud before. I nodded, throat tight. Nathan reached across the table and squeezed my hand once. Not claiming, not possessive, just there. "People weaponize loneliness when they're losing," he said. "He tried to isolate you because it was the only tool he had left." I swallowed. "Are you worried he'll try to cause trouble? With us?" "Maybe," Nathan said honestly. "But there's not much he can do. And I trust you." Trust. A word that felt raw and unfamiliar. A word that made my ribs ache. We kept taking things slow, learning each other's rhythms, little routines, favorite foods, things that made us laugh, things that made us quiet. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't a movie, it wasn't a rebound either. It was real. And I realized I hadn't had that in a long, long time. About a month after the settlement, my phone buzzed with a text notification from an unknown number. "I know you hate me, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I messed up everything. I see that now. Please, just hear me out." I stared at the message. Read it again and again. I thought about all the things I could say, all the ways I could hurt him back, all the truths I could finally shove in his face. I thought about closure, about forgiveness, about whether some people ever truly changed. Then I blocked the number and deleted the message. Some things don't need closure. They just need to end. One evening, as I was putting away laundry in my bedroom, my phone pinged again. This time with an email from the private investigator. Final invoice attached. "Thank you for your business. Glad we could help. You deserve better than what he was doing. Hope you find it." I smiled, small but real. I paid the invoice. Then closed my laptop, exhaled deeply, and watched Milo leap onto the freshly made bed as if claiming it for both of us. A few days later, my college friend Aaron called. "Hey," he said, "just checking in. How you holding up?" I looked around my condo. Quiet, warm, peaceful. The cats asleep in a tangled heap on the couch. A glass of wine breathing on the coffee table. A text from Nathan on my phone asking if I wanted Thai food this weekend. "I'm good," I said. He laughed. "Yeah, actually good? Or pretending to be good because you don't want to talk about it good?" "Actually good," I said, maybe for the first time in a long time. "That's healthy, you know." "Is it?" "Hell yeah. You found out the truth, dealt with it, and moved forward. That's what people try to do. You actually did it." I leaned back on the couch, letting his words sink in. Maybe he was right. A week later, the final dissolution documents arrived in the mail. Official. Stamped. Final. I slid them into a folder, placed the folder in a drawer, closed it. And that was that. Filed away, not just in the drawer, but in my life. The last loose thread came from someone I had hoped never to hear from again. Ryan's mother found me on Facebook despite the blocks. Her message was short, furious. "I hope you're proud of yourself. You destroyed my son's life. He's struggling while you live comfortably. You should be ashamed." I read it once, then screenshot it, sent it to my lawyer. "Just in case," I wrote, His reply came 30 seconds later. Good call, but she won't try anything. She knows she lost. This is just noise. I exhaled. Noise. Yes, for the first time, that was all it felt like. That night, after I fed the cats and washed the dishes and settled on the couch with a blanket, I realized something. The betrayal hurt, yes, but the pain wasn't the thing that stayed. It was the clarity. The clarity of seeing patterns I ignored. The clarity of boundaries I never enforced. The clarity of knowing what I deserved and what I'd never tolerate again. 7 years felt like a waste when the truth first hit me. But now it feels like an education. An expensive one, sure, but one I survived, one I learned from, and one I would never repeat. I looked at the quiet condo, at my resting cats, at the message from Nathan asking if I felt like pad thai or green curry tomorrow, and I realized something else. Life wasn't just moving on, it was moving forward. And I was too.